All right, hello, welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are playing One Ring, second edition tonight. We are continuing our Waking of Angmar campaign, and it is Melissa's birthday? What? What?
It
And then
is.
tomorrow
Happy
is Long's
birthday.
birthday? What? What? There's
What?
just so many birthdays. So yeah, that's gonna be real sad when I kill both their characters today.
But I
Steven
was
sent me
I was
a $50
told if I keep this
Ko-Fi or coffee.
little
You're gonna put it
happy
on?
birthday around, I have plot armor.
Go,
So
well, go ahead, put
it's
it on.
around. It
Go ahead, put it
disappears
on.
into the green screen.
I
It's
don't
on and
see
then
it.
it's gone.
That's weird because I don't see
There
it,
it
so I
is.
guess it doesn't count. Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame. Oh, Ron Talks Tabletop. Thank you so much for the step. 8 months. Oh my gosh, you're right. 8 months already. I agree. It's been a while. So yeah, we've got two birthdays this weekend. Today is Melissa's. She has graciously said we're going to play One Ring today, and tomorrow is Long's. And he has graciously said, "Hey, you guys want to play One Ring tomorrow?" And yeah, I don't know. That's what's happening. So we'll see if the actual Happy Birthday plot armor does anything of note. Steven said that he would quit the show if I kill Melissa's character on her birthday.
I would. I'll walk off. I'll turn the webcam off mid-sec.
That is not a deterrent, my friend. That is encouragement. So anyhow, we'll see how it goes. I mean, you guys, how can anything bad happen? You guys have just returned to the Bree lands. You are in Bree, Coom. You're in friendly territory. How could anything terrible possibly happen to you all, right? If anything terrible is going to possibly happen to you, it would have already happened to you. I almost killed Sorendir, so nothing bad's gonna. Everything's gonna be fine. Everyone, calm down, okay? Everyone, just calm down. So why don't we introduce these characters who are about to have a wonderful journey today. So Long, tell us about Floy.
Yes, I'm Floy. I'm playing a dwarf from the Blue Mountains, Hall of Gladrock. My calling's a treasure hunter. I'm out here traveling Midgard for treasure. Found a nice silver plate mail, a couple of silver as well. Just looking for more treasure.
That's fantastic. And you know what I just remembered, guys? We keep talking about trying to do our own recording. Remember, we're going to change the way we're
Audio.
recording, and
Oh,
we completely
no.
forgot
Yeah.
for like the third week in a row. Well, I just realized that as I started to type thank you to Ron Talks Tabletop for the bits while Long was interrupting. I'm like, oh, that's right. My keyboard's probably clacking over top of Floyd's intro right there. So sorry about that. Oh, and you did
Those
get
are the-
treasure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my coins jingling over my plate.
Was that what it was? Yeah, that you got that decorative silver breastplate, remember? So there you go. Yeah. Okay, next up, we've got Gilly Kettlegrass, the only character with a last name. Gilly, tell us about your hobbit.
Gilly Kettlegrass, she is our free-blooded hobbit, and she is getting to have a pit stop home, hopefully, to see her parents before we go on possibly to our doom.
Yeah.
Just happy things.
Well, we've already
she's
done the
upset-
Doom thing. It'll be something else, but
Yeah.
we'll do something else. Yeah.
She's upset she missed Floyd's wedding because, she loves weddings, and that's exciting. But, she's very happy for him. She is totally not,
I completely
upset
forgot I'm
that
married.
she
now.
missed the party.
Yeah. Yeah. Floyd's married. He took him a fairy wife.
A fairy
Something like
wife.
that. Fairy wife. Ugh. Oh my goodness.
But,
Too old to Twitch. Thank you so much. It's so kind. I'm getting used to the new cheering process. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
That's a happy birthday for Mo.
I think so too. That's what I was thinking as well. That sounds like a happy birthday purchase right there. Floyd got married, got 6 pieces of treasure, and his wife got the other 6. Yep. Area door. Area door is a 50-50 state. That's exactly what it is. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Aurenial. Melissa, tell us about your plot protected character.
So, Aurenial is our Ranger of the North champion. She has gotten a little bit better in kind of recent times in kind of like exploring and some of those things like that. She's gotten better with her bows to kind of match up with her skills with her swords. She's got a fancy dancy cloak that she tried to use to do some travel rolls last time to mixed effect. And we're going to see what happens in Bree. And am I going to do some chores on my birthday? Are we going to do some Marge chores?
I'm not going. So if you go, you got to take Sorendir or Floy. Floy actually has the crafting, by the way.
And I think Floy was the only one who didn't go last time.
Yeah, I never visited.
She's but you guys worked what, twice now? Hasn't she?
Yes.
Hasn't she like twice now? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, she's the best. True. Now everyone's wondering on Rings of Power who Sauron is. I think we know who Sauron is.
Marge.
In Making of Angmar. It's freaking Marge. That's who it is for sure. Absolutely. All right, and then finally we have our freshly poisoned or depoisoned. I don't know. Maybe there's some poison coursing around in your veins still. Unpoisoned, depoisoned. I don't know. He's a pain in the ass. Is who he is. He's Sorendir. Steven, tell us about your character.
Hello, everyone. I'm Steven, and I am playing Sorendir, Child of Eru, Guard of Forland, Exile of Linden, Warden of Eriador, Drinker of Water, and Giver of Gold.
All right. Well, that's enough for tonight, everybody. That introduction took 3/4 of our time, and I guess we'll see you next week. Okay. Shall we start? We ready? Okay. Let's see. Let me pull up my little summary. Let's see if I can figure out where we're at and what we've been doing. So, let's see. Last time, you all started the session having been split up on your journey. You've been traveling back from Forland after some time spent in Linden. You have a task from the Lady of Forland, or Tolos herself, who has tasked you with going to a place called Othrin Gull up in Angmar, up in the mountains of Angmar. And you all were traveling back, but near the Grey Havens, you all had an encounter with an elf who was disgusted with Sorendir and some of the behavior he's demonstrated, especially recently when an elvish woman by the name of Mendir died because, at least died for reasons, but kind of blamed you somewhat for negligence. So you all separated. They wouldn't allow you to cross. And you had to go upriver. Now, Sorendir did not have an easy time, as he eventually discovered the body of a bloated orc that was rushing downstream, got caught on these rocks. And when you were investigating it, this cluster of poisonous spiders burst from it, swarmed all over you, and started infecting you with this poison. And that nearly killed you. The party, meanwhile, was suffering through this terrible hailstorm, and then eventually they started searching for Sorendir. Kind of going up and down the river, finding some high points, looking for narrow points where it'd be easier to cross. And eventually, thankfully, you all found him and left Sorendir he couldn't really swim across, so I think Floyd built a raft. Iriniel and Gilly both swam or hopped rocks across. And eventually you got him over and you kind of treated him and sort of saved his life. Nothing too terrible. He was. I guess you probably weren't doing too good, right? You were pretty close to going down, right?
I had 4 endurance left at one point. Yeah, one more solid roll would have taken me out.
That's a shame. That's such a shame. So you reunited, and you started journeying eastward some more. You kind of found at one point Elriker, one of the merchants that was traveling along with you. He fell into this pit near an old ruin. Floy, you rescued him, and then you discovered this decorative silver breastplate. Nothing functional. It's just more. This could be melted down and sold and used, etc. The next part of the journey was over the far downs and into the Shire. It's a path that Floy would know pretty well. But while you were camping in the hills just west of the Shire, you were lured away, not too difficultly. You just kind of went. That was great. That's why I was the perfect person to target with this, by the way, because it was long. He's like, okay, sure. I could have had Sauron's voice speak up and be like, okay, I'll go check it out. But you were lured away by these strange voices in the mist, and when you woke the next morning, you had some gaps in your memory, but you did vaguely remember a wedding and merriment. You had all this different garb on you that suggested festives of some kind. And in the Hobbit village of Greenhold, you were told that you had taken a fairy wife. Now, you traveled through the Shire. It was relatively easy and safe. A couple weird glances were kind of tossed your way, but nothing terrible. There was still some hospitality and safety. You stopped at the Green Dragon Inn. You shared some stories. You learned that Gandalf the Grey Wizard was seen for the first time in a while at the Free Fair near Mickle Delving, but unfortunately there was no Balin. Sounds like whatever befell him, all those misfortunes in the Blue Mountains, delayed him from joining him and Bilbo Baggins, this eccentric hobbit that you heard a few stories about as well. Eventually, you pushed eastward over the Brandywine Bridge, and en route to Bree, you actually came across some old acquaintances, Ingvar and Marin, people they're merchants out of Dale that you've encountered before a year ago, and you exchanged some stories and such, and kind of continued in opposite directions. So finally, we ended with you all coming upon the familiar intersection of the Greenway, the Great East Road, the walls of Bree, and you have now returned. What is going on in chat? There are lots of things there's money being thrown, bits being thrown. This is very nice. You all are very nice. Okay.
Birthday love for long.
That is,
birthdays.
early birthday for long.
Thank you.
That's
thank you.
great. That's great. Thank you. Too old to Twitch. You are such a kind man. Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, I'm just catching up. All right. So we are back. Let's go ahead and just sort of finalize our journey phase, because I imagine you all are probably going to take a couple days break here. So why doesn't everyone go ahead and roll a travel test right now while I get some music going?
It's good old success in the travel.
All right.
Nice.
Okay, sorry.
I have an extra D6 from my cloak. And that is, I'm starting off the night with a Gandalf.
Okay.
Ooh,
you know what?
nice.
I'm just gonna. I guess you're just allowed to cheat on your birthday. That's fine. That's okay. Okay. So to remind you all, as it's been a week or so. Okay. So basically, you're gonna go. You roll your travel, and then count up all of your successes, including the main success and any other additional success icons. You can reduce your fatigue by 1 for each of those, and then you kind of know where you're at. And then you all kind of have to decide how long you kind of want to hang out here. So when you arrive in Bree, it doesn't seem as though anything's changed. Like, people are kind of milling about. Roads are kind of sloppy here and there, but busy. You hear the sounds of merriment coming from the Prancing Pony and other places. And it doesn't look as though anything of your adventures and your tales and things that have happened has kind of floated over in this direction. Doesn't seem to bother them or change their everyday lives. You left here a while ago. You left Forland, and it was sort of we'll call it the kind of the end of summer. And it's the start of fall, so it's the equivalent of September. Like, if you want to think about it, that's where we're at. And so you arrive in Bree. I guess my question to you all is, I have a couple questions, actually, is what do you want to do here? How long do you want to stay? If you want to reduce your fatigue before doing the next leg of your journey, remember that you can recover 1 point of fatigue per prolonged rest that you take here. And so a prolonged rest is essentially, staying a night. So what does everybody want to do?
Yeah, so it depends on how everyone's fatigue is. So we can rest like a week or even more if we need to get that fatigue down.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
at
sitting
11.
at 6.
So
I'm also
I'm
at
not an
11.
amazing ranger.
Okay, so Sorendir and Gilly, that's an 11 after your reduction from your travel roll?
Yeah. Well, because I only
well,
have
yeah.
1 pip in travel.
Okay.
I don't even have a pip in travel. I rolled a 6. I needed an 18.
Okay. Oh,
I'm
dear
sorry, I
God.
think I missed the what is the reduction from the travel roll? Sorry, of the fatigue.
So you roll travel test like normal, and then however many successes you get, it sounds like you said you had a Gandalf.
Yeah.
Did you have any additional successes?
I did not.
Okay, so then reduce your travel fatigue by 1.
Okay.
And that's how much you take. That's how much you have after the journey's over. The journey itself took about a month, actually, because we only really hit the high points. We it's a montage, imagine, and we kind of hit some important events along the way, or interesting events. But it does take considerable time, and it's again early fall. You know that you're heading northward, travel through Angmar, Rudour is difficult to begin with, but it's also can be even harder if you get caught up there during the winter months, which you almost did last time, if you recall, last time you were up there. So there is kind of a hard decision to make. How long do you wait? How long, how much do you try to accomplish here? There's also allies you have here as well, so it's kind of up to you. What would you like to do?
Yeah, so I think we rest up at minimum a week, maybe even the 10 days, just get the full fatigue out. Because we're going to be traveling north.
Yeah. 10 or 11 days sounds good to me.
Okay. I don't think we need to do a full fellowship phase. I don't think it merits it. We haven't really done a lot in the adventuring phase yet. So how about we just do this? We'll just do some sort of free play. What are people doing during this week and a half as you're resting off your time? Like who are you seeing? What are you doing? Like what are you interested in trying to do while you're here?
If I remember correctly, I left my horse, my pony, beat here quite months ago. So I'd like to find him. Okay,
so I would say the most likely person you probably left them with, if you recall, there was Rosa Burrow, who is a friend of Balon's, and that was your initial kind of person that you were helping at the start of this campaign. Rosa Burrow had the farm in Coombe. There was the dead livestock that you're investigating. She's the neighbor of Meadow Oldbuck, who you have thoroughly driven insane, and she hates you now, and has set up all sorts of signs outlawing running, dwarves, milking of animals, and all sorts of things outside her farm. But when you go to see Rosa Burrow, you can see that she is doing quite well. Her livestock seem to have recovered. She seems very happy. Remember, she's a Bree Hobbit, sheep tender. She's got that fiery auburn red hair, and when she sees you, she got this big old smile, and she says, "Fly! Oh boy, it's so wonderful to see you. Oh, you looking resplendent as always."
Same to you, Rosa. It feels like it's been a while.
It's been quite some time. I haven't seen you in months, maybe more than that, in fact. Oh, I've got old. Where is it? That. Was it Beat or is it Rude? I always forget which one's which. Okay. Where is that donkey of yours, or mule, or whatever it is, pony? There it is, over there. You can see, right on the edge of Meadows land. I don't know what it is, but your pony has been driving her insane lately. You can see she's got some berry bushes built up on the property line between the Burrows and the Old Bucks, and it isn't a day or two. Almost every other day, I have to go out there and I got to chase your darn pony away from the plot line before Meadow comes out with a crossbow and shoots at it.
Oh dear, no worries. I'll go ahead and talk to her. Make it up for her.
Oh, no, I don't. You mean talk to Meadow? No, I think that's a terrible idea. She has actually spoken multiple times at various town meetings asking to outlaw dwarves within Coombe. Now, no one's, of course, taking her seriously on such an accusation but she's quite angry, and she has been practicing with some sort of device she bought from some merchants at a dale. Some sort of it's a crossbow. It's got some little winding thing, and you don't have to know how to shoot a bow to use it. You just point and pull the trigger.
That doesn't sound right at all. I thought we got along pretty well.
You thought you got along well with the woman who put up signs that said no jogging, no dwarves. Every time you encountered her, she seemed upset.
I think that's just her personality.
Well, she is a bit ornery, that's true, but you bring out the worst in her. I have to admit.
Chloe has a healthy self-esteem.
I think maybe it's best if you just take your pony, well-fed, otherwise has been a very delight, has been getting along with my sheep quite well. If you're looking to to keep it here for a few more days, that's fine. But when you're ready to leave, of course you're welcome to it. And again, if you have any interest in parting, I would be happy to purchase
your pony off of you and give your pony a place to stay safe. Pulls the plow here and there.
Yeah, we can go over the details. We are staying for a while. We have a long journey to the north again.
You're journeying north. And she kind of looks up at the sky at this time of the year.
Just seems to line up that way.
Do you have your papers and such accounted for? Who this pony's going to default to in the case of your imminent demise?
Well, we can get that sorted.
Okay. Well, I would be very pleased to take over stewardship on a more permanent basis if you feel. Root, is that what you call bait?
I always forget. You tell me all the time, and I never remember. I'm the worst. I'm so bad.
It's beat. Gillies
Okay.
is the root.
Yeah.
Got it.
Well, if you don't want to go bringing bait with you, you just let me know. And stay away from Meadow. Or you drive her insane, and then I have to live next to her for about 6 or 7 months before you come back and Araya turns to you. And it takes roughly 4 or 5 months to keep her from hating me. There's a grey streak in her hair, and I'm pretty sure it's purely from stress of thinking about you.
I'm flattered.
Okay. So you get your...
I'm flattered.
You check in on Rosa. Okay. Who else is doing something while we're here? Is that Lewis? Thank you so much for those bits. Aw, there's so many bits out there. I feel like I should just drop Sauron right here and fight because you have enough to take them out. So, who's doing something next in these?
Aureliel is going to head up to the Chetwood.
Okay, yeah. So last you heard when you were last here, Marin Ben and Talondale, your ranger friends, had left Oswald Breaker's home, the scholar who lives on the outskirts of Coombe, and who was attacked by the hillfolk, if you recall. Talondale, for those who are watching, was a ranger you met near Fornost, who, as you were traveling through the ruins of Fornost, was severely and grievously wounded to the point where, like, his back was in terrible condition. And then Marin Ben was his estranged wife, who had taken like this pledge of vengeance for their daughter who was killed by trolls. And so you encountered her up near Mount Grom, and you convinced her to come home with you. And last you heard they were reconciling, and that they had kind of moved away from the town some more and kind of found a place within the Chetwood to sort of settle in some ways, like a retirement home for rangers. So why don't you go? You head on out there. I don't want to do any rolls for this. You'll get directed there either by Oswald or by Elise Briarcleave, the lumberjack woman you saved long ago. And yeah, you find that there's this, for lack of a better word, like a cabin out here. You smell, and from the distance you can smell some kind of fire burning a little bit, as if and you, like, when you get a little closer, you can see like there's smoke coming out of a chimney. It's an unfinished home, but it looks to be in progress. There's a lot of like logs and other beams that have been set aside here, and as you pass by, you can see that there's been some felled trees, and you can see there's signs of these berry bushes and such, and there's a stream that kind of runs nearby. It's quite a nice spot that they've found, but it's deep in these woods, and which are not without danger. But for two rangers, veteran rangers at that, it's probably not too dangerous for them. But you show up, and we'll say the first who sees you is Talondale. And okay. He steps away from what looks like he's been chopping wood, and you can tell he's still moving very slowly, and he's got a terrible limp, and he's actually, as he kind of smiles and waves, you can see he flips the woodsman's axe down a bit and almost starts using it as a cane before kind of stumbling, muttering some kind of curse that you can't hear at the distance. He drops it, picks up what looks like an actual cane, and begins sort of moving in your direction. And he sees, now there is a face I have not seen in some time.
How are you, Aurelius?
Talondale, it is very good to see you again. I traveled long, have much to tell you.
I am keen to listen. Marin Ben is off hunting right now. She'll return by nightfall, and we can have a proper meal and a sit down. We can catch up. You can tell me everything that's befallen you and yours.
Excellent. I'm glad to see you are looking better than the last time I saw you.
Well, my recovery continues, though I've been told by Alcott, Miss Sweetroot, was treating him last time you saw. I've been told by Alcott that I will likely have a limp for the rest of my time, and that the scars are more or less healed at this point. I'm not going to beat anyone in a foot race, but I can move about and hustle as needed. And as you can see, I can get more than enough done with what limitations I have. I will not be ranging too far, I would imagine, without the aid of horse or pony, but I have once again practiced, and he kind of nods over in the corner, and you can see, like, there's like this little archery setup that he has, and you can see his sword is there. I have discovered that muscle memory is a thing. That is what Alcott refers to it as. And grabbing my sword and firing the arrows has allowed the blood to course through my veins and allowed what once was very stiff to become more malleable again. I might not be what I once was.
I've actually done some training with the bow and sword since we last saw, so perhaps we could do a bit of sparring before I take my leave again.
I would be happy to, though I am sure you have far surpassed me, this old man. And you can tell he looks older. Like, you can tell the last year has been difficult on him. Gray has become the most dominant color in his hair. You can tell he's maintained. He doesn't have like a scraggly beard, but he's not necessarily shaving every day. But you can see like little stubble of gray as well. He looks better, but you can tell he looks older. Like, he's moving about much better, and he doesn't look to have like kind of a hunch anymore. And it looks like he's been sleeping as well. And last time you saw him, you know that he was kind of struggling with that.
Yeah, and Irenial will sort of offer her arm as they sort of walk back towards the cabin to go indoors.
Sure. We'll say at a certain point, Marin Ben returns. He brings back what looks like some conies, and she's actually looking quite literally just better. You can tell that there's color that's kind of come back to her skin. Like, you remember, she was very pale and gray, kind of from her time up north. You can still see behind the eyes that there's like anger and sadness that's kind of pooled. The reservoir is not empty by any stretch, but it doesn't seem to the surface as much as it once was. And more than once, like during the course of your dinner, there's a fondness that you can see between them. Like when they exchange a utensil or something like that, a hand lingers. You can tell that there's a rekindling somewhat of their relationship. But she tells you how she's been taking up, ranging, like kind of almost ranging through the Chetwood to the edge of the marshes. She's had some encounters here and there. Some creatures in the marsh, she says, undead, these drowned figures she's seen shambling. Doesn't seem to get too close, and she's had more than one run-in with them. A troll or two, which she admits probably reignited some of her anger and kind of sent her down a hole for like a week or two. But goblins, very few, but wolves aplenty. Definitely so. And usually she's able to dissuade them as opposed to have to kill them outright.
You can tell that she has some semblance of appreciation for those creatures.
And
She-
Iridial will share kind of, all of how west we've gone and our run-ins with wolves and the whole
Sure.
rest of the path. And also specifically kind of sharing how members of some of my traveling companions have also suffered from shadow and seen even more of the effects, because she was really kind of our first interaction with someone that had suffered from shadow, and now there's even more folks that have succumbed somewhat to those effects.
Yeah, I mean, she was very far down the Curse of Vengeance track, mechanically speaking, and you've helped her recover some of that. Not all of it, as you can tell, that it still kind of lingers, and it seems though she has kind of come to terms with some of that to a degree. But in a quiet moment when she's not around, Talondale will, talk to you about moments where he can hear her sobbing and not wanting to show that to him, or when she's kind of using some of their sparring setups, their practice setups, like where she just goes a little too hard sometimes on like the wooden dummies that they use to kind of practice forms. And how sometimes he worries when she goes out ranging without him, even though these lands are far less dangerous than the ones that she had spent the previous years in. But nonetheless, she does seem to be much, much better than the last you've seen. They've both become somewhat friendly with Elise Briarcleave, the Woodcutter. She comes by, she delivers news. They visit Oswald from time to time, but they don't really engage with the towns all that often, other than a handful of people. And Alcott still meets Talondale to check on his wounds and his recovery and all those types of things. So they're keeping in touch, but they're still kind of out on their own.
It is not our way to spend our evenings in the town square.
And they agree, smile, and again, the cabin's very modest. It's nothing. It's certainly comfortable for two people, but it's modest.
It is very nice to spend time amongst other rangers. We've spent so much time in the halls of the dwarves and the cities of the elves. I adore all of my traveling companions. It is also nice to spend some time in the woods in the quiet.
Do you tell them of the ranger community that you encountered and then abandoned near Eskerdale and Lake Evendon? You do?
Mm-hmm.
They will exchange a glance with one another, and you can tell that they're pondering, and they turn and they look at you, and why did you not journey with them? If it is your people you seek, such an opportunity was presented to you, one to be with them and to take on a mantle of leadership. Why did you turn it away?
I allow myself the moments to ponder time with others, but I always return in my thoughts to the evils that loom and the steps that must be taken to deal with that. And we try to tell the folks that we come across of what we know and how they could be of assistance, and they can choose to or they cannot, but settling somewhere does not appear to be my path. My path is one of peril, and I hope some success.
Talondale gets a wry smile, looks to Marin Ben, and he says, "It sounds like someone I once knew." And you can see that she kind of looks at him, And a year ago, perhaps she would have gotten angry, but you can tell like a little bit of a smile cracks on her lips as well. Well, nonetheless, they say, don't deny yourself time with others. Yours does not have to be a lonely existence. We come from a line of people, kings, kingdoms, communities. There's nothing that replaces this. There's nothing that fills the void of kinship. Duty is important, but it is not all.
Is why I seek out these moments of camaraderie when the opportunity arises. And she'll sort of, imagine she sort of has a drink and she'll sort of set it down and just say, and enough of those things. I propose a contest, and so she'll kind of try to get them up and active, and
Sure.
Okay, we kind of did the feelings things.
And the serious conversation will fade. You'll get into this sort of gamesmanship and things like that, and we'll fade from that scene then, and we will open up on another. Who else is doing so? We've had stuff from Floyd and Eriniel, Gilly, or Sorendir. Is there anything you're looking to do during your rest time?
Sorendir wouldn't be doing too much. He doesn't really know anyone in Bree. He's not really the social type either. I imagine he'd be hanging out in the prancing pony during like the least active hours, like 2 to 4-ish, and that's where he'd try to get his meals. I'm sure he'd be complaining like for more vegetables or more fresh leafy greens, and then only drinking water as well.
Okay. Sure.
We don't have to roleplay it.
That's fine. Roll a d12 for me. Roll like a feat die.
4.
Okay. While you're there, you can tell that the sort of the big news or the main conversation is that there's apparently a kind of a fairly small family of homesteaders who once lived along the Greenway, like off to the sort of the northernish, southern side of the Great East Road. It kind of weaves its way down through the South Downs and such. But there's apparently a family of homesteaders who have arrived, and they're kind of at the pony here and there, and they're looking for refuge. And they're not necessarily getting immediate help from anybody. Like you can see as they're trying to sort of beg for a little bit of food, a little bit of water, things like that from others here. And while the innkeeper is certainly providing some water and some basic food, you don't really see people falling over themselves to kind of help these people.
That's the same direction that our merchant friends were going, right?
That is correct. Alarker and Elena. They're heading down to Tharbad, which they would be taking the Greenway southward.
I would do my best to try and connect the two groups, safety in numbers, if they can travel together. It might be easier on both sides.
Okay. When you introduce yourself to these homesteaders, it's again, small family, we'll say about 6 people in total, 3 different generations. They're fairly cautious, especially around an elf, which is something of a sight to them. And you can see the young ones, like the children, are kind of looking up at you and, without any amount of bashfulness, just staring at you. And like you can see them whisper to each other about your ears and things like that. And they're trying, like the mother's turning around or the grandmother's turning around to try to get them to behave and such. They are nonetheless looking up at you. Very adorable, dirty. And you can also get, when you speak with the parents, you get this sense of, like, they smell. like they smell like smoke. And they explain to you that their homestead was burnt down. Like someone, like it was basically sacked. And they tell you that there was a bandits of some kind. They don't think it, they know it wasn't, orcs or goblins or anything like that, but just some sort of band of just ne'er-do-wells that have been kind of traveling here and there, accosting merchants along the road, have been robbing some of these homesteads that are not within kind of Bree-Warden radius, not that they're particularly useful to begin with, and they've kind of been accosting them for coin and such.
Did you already say where they were coming from? Where the bandits were?
They don't know for sure, but the family has a homestead along the Greenway to the south, on the east side near the South Downs, and the bandits themselves have been accosting travelers on that southern route between Bree that weaves all the way down to Tharbad. And in addition to accosting travelers, they've been hitting some of the homesteads that are outside the radius of like Bree-Warden coverage.
Well, unfortunately, we are headed a different direction, so we cannot give them protection. I would go up to their leader, and assuming after we've like already introduced and talked to each other a little bit, I would tell him, it may be dangerous, but I believe that you can see your people through. And I want you to know that you go with the blessing of at least one elf of London. And I will reach up to my neck and I will take off my expensive elven cloak that I got from Erennial. And I will put it around him. May this protect you from cold weather. And if need be, sell it. Take the coin and get your people to safety.
He takes it. He looks at you, and they like he's been speaking with you, but at the same time, you can tell like interactions with elves carry with them a certain level of uncertainty, and they're kind of nervous around you, but doing their best, especially in the face of what they've had to deal with. And so the mother and the father, they kind of like look to Master Elf. You honor us. We came here for help, for charity, for anything. We thought we might find it amongst those who call Bree home. We would never have thought to find it amongst the elven kind. I thank you. You are. Yes, we will. We will persevere. We will find a way, find a home. And you can see that they feel like there's kind of like they're enheartened, you could say, at this. As you kind of wander off after sort of departing the conversation, like you overhear like the adults, the parents and like the grandmother kind of conversing, and they're debating whether to do, as you said, sell this to be able to purchase a lot here somewhere in town, or maybe to return and rebuild. And so you're not sure exactly what they're going to do, but they nonetheless seem to be in far better care, or in far better spirits when you left them. And in terms of like as you leave, the names they give you is the Bruddlemarks is the name of the family. I'm not going to go ahead and give you every single name of the NPC.
What was that?
We'll say the Bruddlemarks.
Bruddlemarks.
Mm-hmm. So you have a name to check in on next time, and go find the graves of the people that you.
Oh no.
Okay.
No.
that I now made targets because they have a fancy
Right.
elven cloak.
Because now they're going to be like,
Oh, can't pay the protection racket, but you can get yourself a fancy elvish cloak. Oh. Pew pew.
okay. And then Gilly, what have you been doing this week and a half here?
Gilly has been spending her time between being at home with her parents and visiting Oswald Breaker.
Okay.
And when she's with Oswald, basically she's almost frantically copying down her notes from her book so he can have a copy as well. And then she also had spent the time to make these really beautiful portraits of Sorendir, Erenial, Floy, and herself, her fellowship, so that it's included with the their adventures.
Something to remember them by?
Yeah, because she's terrified they're not going to get back.
Okay. So when you meet him, he's very pleased to see you. He's also very excited. As he's like, very happy that you have returned. And remember, this is a man who has been known as a kind of a grumpy recluse. He's a widow. He has not been the same since his wife passed, and he lives on the edge of town. You do notice that like he's got like pockmarks on his face that you don't recall, and on his hands and such. And he was sick all throughout spring. Apparently, he had some sort of pox, but Alcott nursed him through, and you can also tell when you arrive that his home has been repaired. Finally, all the damage that he has suffered from the Rudauer Hill folk did to his library and to his house has finally been repaired. And what he's really excited about, in addition to seeing you, is that he recently purchased some new volumes, some volumes from merchants that came out of the East. And he starts telling you about them, and you realize, like, it's Angmar and Marin. It's the same people you met on the road that kind of delivered this, and because he's like, it's the ones who you gave the message to me last time. Will you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's very, very. He hasn't had a chance, but he knows that they are apparently about history, Misty Mountains, things like that. That seems to be about that area, and so there's like a whole like stack of like these 7 books and a whole bucket filled with scrolls that he's very curious to get into. And he also tells you that he's begun writing a volume that he hopes to collect the histories and tales of men from the northern kingdoms. And so he's kind of, as you're sort of copying your notes, he's sort of showing you what he's accomplished thus far. Nothing new that you haven't already gotten, but he's like some of your tales, some of the information. He's trying to kind of recreate some of the volumes that he lost to the hill folk when they kind of destroyed some and took some, that kind of thing. But it is a fair time with him. As for your parents, they are delighted to see you. Your mother is extraordinarily upset that you're talking about leaving once more. Your dad and you smoked the night away.
Yep.
You look out on the slopes of Coombe and Bree, and you see the livestock and the sun setting in the west, and it is a very raunchy smell wafting down from the porch of the kettle grasses. That is for sure. Passers-by speak of it, and not kindly.
So dank.
Yes, it is super dank at the Kettlegrass household, for sure. Okay.
But it's kind of awkward, too, because Gilly's trying to not let on about how nervous she is about the next trip. She's trying to keep it normal. But, like, her mom knows it's not normal. And, yeah. But she doesn't confront her about it.
Okay. So we'll say, again, montage, a week and a half go by. You engage with your very... Okay, and I am keeping tabs on this, on the time. We're going to say it was like 11 days, I think it was, so about a week and a half.
Reniel and Floy. Reniel is going to wrangle Floy to go see Marge before we go.
Oh, God.
We did make a promise. Keep our promises.
All right. So you visit Marge Oak Stout, mother of
Sorry,
Hollis
Floy.
Oak
I
Stout.
sort of spoke for you that I wrangled you in your crafting skills. We promised, Floy. We did promise, and you haven't come through yet.
Okay.
Two exactly.
remember when we rescued the guy and we said that we'd take care of his mom? And you haven't the last 2 times, and you're the one with the crafting skill.
I guess we'll take a look.
You knock on the door of Marge Oak Stout's home in the East Row neighborhood of Bree. She still lives alone. You can tell immediately as you're going to go through the front gate of the garden that definitely some of the paint has started to chip on the front gate. You can see as you go and you kind of ring this little bell at her door that it seems fairly tarnished, like it hasn't been swiped and clean. You can see spider webs that have started to form on the underhang of the porch. You hear a shuffling and creaking of floorboards on the other side of the door as it opens up, and there's Marge Oak Stout in all her glory, elder woman with scraggly hair, kind of tucked away behind cloth. She kind of every now and then kind of blows a bit of air up to kind of get it out of her face. It's matting to her forehead, and she's like,
Hello?
Yes,
Who's
Mrs. Oak
there?
Stout.
I don't want any. I'm not
Mrs.
buying anything.
No, Mrs. Oak Stout, we're not here selling anything. Perhaps you remember, I'm a Rennial. I was here last time with a
You're
hobbit.
the one who broke my cupboards. I remember you. You were supposed to fix my cupboards and you made them worse.
I believe that we made some improvements last time we were here. I brought
Belief's got nothing to do with it.
my
You...
dwarf friend is with this time, and he is quite the master craftsman.
That's no dwarf. That's just a very fat and short man. Now get up in here and clean my cupboards.
You are so glad that you always have some tasks. Have you heard any word from Hollis recently?
My son? Still outcast. Not that you lot have done anything about it, other than come here and ruin my home. The ancestral home of the Oak Stouts, mind you, where I raised my poor son all on me own because his father was a drunken louse who died getting kicked in the face by a pony. I think. I don't remember.
It's always
was
a
one of
sad
those-
story.
One of those ferny horses. A terrible criminal living across the street. The fernies? You don't see the Bree Wardens doing anything about them, but oh no, my son makes one tiny error, and now we can never forget it. Now the Oak Stout name, once a proud and modest name, is now rancid and filled with disorder.
Wow, these stories are always sad when you tell them to us, Marge. But we did give our word to
I
Hollis.
walked right up, just last month, to the Reeve Cole Pickthorn, and I said, "You let my son back in, you nitwit." And he looked down at me and he said, "I don't know who you are." So you know what I did to him? I spit right in his face, and I said, "Oh, Marge Oak Stout, and now you're always going to remember me as the woman who spit in your eye."
I have those tendencies to want to spit in people's eyes as well. I've been trying to work on other ways to get to have conversations and kind of have folks do the things that I would prefer them to do.
You talk too much. There's cupboards that are broken. They need fixing. The doors don't close properly. These floorboards here creak. I think a few of them are split, and there's all sorts of different varmint coming up from underneath. Now let's go get to it. If your friend is in fact a dwarf, then I shall expect an immaculate resurrection of my home.
Well, then, everybody else, she's as lovely as you described her. I'd rather just get to work and keep this promise and be done with it.
Enough romance in there, little man. I've been married before. Lovely isn't gonna get you out of work. Get going, hustle now.
And I'll just spend some time doing some easy
do some
repairs.
crafting.
I love this woman.
I
Okay.
know.
Floy, roll a craft test at -2 dice.
Okay.
We have oodles of dice, Floy, if you would
I'm
like
favored,
extra
and
dice.
I'll be rolling 2 extra pips, so that's fine.
And I can help as well.
No, you're too busy telling stories. That's fine.
Okay, I'll just take the bonus from Bill.
You think you can romance me at my age?
Just regular success.
Okay.
I prefer a taller man, not one like you.
Okay, so you do manage to fix her cupboards. You can tell that whoever did this last time, boy, they did a pretty terrible job of making sure the hinges are opening and closing properly. You can see why she's actually quite angry, because the doors aren't closing properly, and there's all sorts of dust that's accruing on the insides here and there. And the floorboards, oh my goodness, there's these huge gaps. Whoever tried to kind of replace and repair did a horrible job of kind of calculating the fact that during different parts of the year, the wood's going to swell and retract, and my goodness, this is actually shameful craftsmanship, Floyd. Whatever fools did this work, they should never, ever be allowed to work without a proper craftsman around to mentor them.
Sure. Floy is kind enough to keep all of these thoughts to himself, I'm sure.
Is he?
I make a comment or two while I'm working. Like, oh, this is terrible.
And so at the end, when you're done, she'll come around and she'll expect it. And she's like,
You call yourself a dwarf? It's competent, I suppose, but I could have gotten 5 or 6 different fellas down from the pony who could have come here and done it as well. What am I paying you for?
You're not. That's the
You're
beauty of
darn
it.
right I'm not. Not with this kind of shoddy craftsmanship. Now, I've got a full list be here tomorrow at dawn, and we can get to work on the rear rooms, and don't get me started on what needs to be done in the garden.
Yes, Miss Oak Stout, we are actually on our way out again.
Oh,
we always
here
promise
we
to
go
come by when we're
again.
here, and we keep our promise, but we are off again.
Oh, sure, abandon me, that's fine, go right ahead. Don't have my own son here. Still haven't done anything to make sure he comes back into town, so leaving me all alone, but no, that's fine. Do the bare minimum. Yep, that's what you all do, right, heroes you are.
And Ireniel has sort of learned to just sort of walk out as she's talking, and so it's just like, yep, Miss Oak Stout, it was so good to see you again. We will see you all the good tidings that we will be back to see you again, and keep working on that list next time, is walking out the door or walking towards the gate.
Dawn tomorrow.
closes the door. The bell rings with the force of it. Okay.
We don't necessarily have to play it out, but could I try to do a courtesy or something just to see if we could try to put in a good word for kind of how long this exile has lasted?
Trying to do that is more than just a simple roll.
Got
If you wanted to do that actually, that's a whole separate undertaking. That wouldn't just be a quick and easy roll.
All right.
Okay.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Assuming
So-
there's a next time.
Okay, so then, if there's nothing else, a couple questions then, as we're going to dive into the journey, as you are now kind of more than midway through September en route, before you take on your journey. I realized last time I had put the X in the wrong spot for where you were going, so I've went ahead and I've cleared the actual map, so you can kind of redraw. The Othran goal site, remember, is in the mountains of Angmar. I had totally put it in the wrong place. It's my bad, but it's fixed now. So a few things. We're going to figure out what route you're going to take. And then the question is you have allies around here. Do you, Ireniel, like, you were at dinner with 2 rangers, and both of whom had probably in a quiet moment, without letting the other know, express that they're more than happy to journey with you if you think you need reinforcements. So do you get any help? Do you bring any of your ponies with you? Gilly, your parents were probably taking care of Beat, or excuse me, of Root. I do it all the time. So, what's the plan?
I would like
Go ahead.
our allies, or to get those allies.
So,
And
there's Talondale and Marin Ben. Those are rangers that you have in town that could potentially come with you. Hollis Oak Stout is a former Bree Warden who lives within the Midgewater Marshes. He's the one with the 2 dogs. And then there's Elise Briarcleave, who is a capable woodcutter, but not necessarily a soldier in her own right. So those are the 4 around Bree and Coombe that you would have any real thought of these being people who could possibly come with you. Thorvim and Thebe are far to the south, south of Tharbad. They're the ones who were with you last time. Everybody else like Rosa and Meadow, Old Buck, and Alcott. These are all kind of older folks or people who you wouldn't think would be good for a trip. Aw, Chuck gave Melissa only bits.
Yay, birthday bits.
Very nice. Thanks, man. How many points to make the players roll an Eye of Sauron? They're just going to cheat anyway and say they didn't roll one, because that's all they ever do now. I swear, if you see pre-physical dice, post-physical dice, the amount of Gandalfs that were rolled, it skews pretty heavily. All right, that's I would say those are probably the people that you would be most likely to try to recruit.
how far south is that the dwarves were?
Oh, they're towards the Dunelands and the sort of they're up on the Misty Mountains southern side, on the opposite side of where Isengard is and everything. So they're pretty far away. It would be a month's travel just to get there.
Okay, then just Merrimem and Talondale, probably the best option here.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe all of us would go and have a conversation with them.
Yeah, sort of
Okay.
like agree to.
Yeah. I don't think you would have to pull their leg too much. You probably got the sense of Renil that while they were here and doing fine, they at the same time you can tell that they were probably chomping at the bit to do more. Talondale, you can tell is certainly moving better. He's slower. You probably want to make sure the ponies are with, just in case he ever needs to. So he doesn't have to carry too much. It's a long journey. Marin Ben looks quite good shape. It's less about her physical. It's more about the mental with her when you kind of get close and what's going to happen. But if you speak with them, they will not turn it down.
I think Sorendir would express some hesitation on recruiting more people to this cause. We know that it will be a tough journey, a difficult quest, and it would be on our heads if we bring people in and they do not return.
I can understand that concern. We have gone far with our few numbers and had some successes. I'm always fearful for what happens if we are not successful. And I do not like to think in sacrifice, but if we can inform select individuals and make sure that they are aware of the danger, they could make a choice to support us or not.
I do not disagree, but perhaps instead of requesting they join us, we tell them where we are going, and they can choose on their own.
I see. A slightly different approach.
So
Though
I think-
Aurelial definitely is asking. Marin Ben.
If that's the case, if you ask them,
Yeah.
you do not. There's no roll necessary. This doesn't even
Yeah.
require a check. They would, after what you've done for them, and just knowing who they are, they would undoubtedly come with you.
Marin Ben, your knowledge of the areas through which we will travel is priceless.
She nods and she says, "We have languished here. There's a war at hand. The people in Coombe and Bree and these villages are oblivious to it. It is time that we return to the fight." And you can see Talondale, less as he's not as excited to do so. It's more the duty of it all, and he looks at you and he says, "What Marin Ben says is true. And beyond that, you have aided us greatly. And if we can return that favor now, and in doing so, increase the chances of success for your mission, then we would be fools to decline. You may count us amongst your fellowship."
We are forever grateful. And to my companion's point, I do believe you are aware that we may leave of 6 and not return as such.
They both kind of smile at that. And they say, "We are Rangers of the North. Loss is in our blood. We do not need to be reminded of it, and it will not ward us off from aiding you. But thank you. And Elf, thank you as well." So, you've got 2 more. Does that suffice? We have our own rules for using it. You guys remember? We'll get into that when the time comes. We'll get back into that. And such, we have our own little homebrew rules for how NPCs function in fights and things like that. But anything else that you all want to do in Bree before we set out? I hope you all are nervous, by the way.
Oh, I am so
Yeah,
nervous.
very, very
Like,
much
I'm
so.
sick to my stomach nervous.
To make the travels for winter, I want these furs to actually be put to use. I'm gonna get fur coats and stuff for everyone
Excellent.
to look the
Okay.
part.
Right.
Excellent.
I was gonna say I could use a second cloak, so
Yeah, Reno, you do notice, by the way, that Sorendir's cloak is gone. Like, he's still got the one from, he's got the clasp and everything from Lady Ortolos, but the one that you got him, he doesn't seem to be. It's curious.
You, I know the weather is getting cooler and you don't seem to have your second.
no, the weather got cooler. I needed to start a fire, and then I'll walk away.
Such a son of a bitch.
Would we be able to, and so I'll kind of float this idea to the group. We did, Gilly, you missed out this visit on our visit to Marge.
Oh yeah, totally meant to go there. I
Floyd
must have missed the memo.
Floyd did a much better job than we.
I
She's-
mean, master craftsman.
Indeed. He is much more successful than we were. It appears that Hollis is still exiled. Might we want to try to gather Hollis and see if he might be willing, given his continued exile state?
It could be a good point for him to return. Proof of his good deeds.
Marge went the direction of attempting to spit in the eye of one of the other wardens, and that she was surprised that that tactic was ineffective at regaining his status.
She's such a pleasant woman.
She's
And Gilly just kind of shakes her head, because I imagine you like caught her while she's in the garden, so she's like ripping up carrots and stuff as you're talking. She's getting dirt everywhere, and she wipes it off on her shirt, and she's like, well, I guess we should get Hollis now rather than later, see if he wants to go.
It's been a while since we traveled in the marsh. Do you mind seeing those hounds of his again?
Okay. So this one actually will take a roll because it is not easy to find him.
Well, I figured we'd meet up with that one lady who's usually his contact first.
Yeah, but finding him is different
True.
than them having a meetup. So if you're looking, and that's what she'll sort of explain, is that they meet every fortnight, kind of where, where the marshes kind of overlap a bit with the Chetwood here and there, because she does not like going into the marshes at all. They are a very, very frightening place. Yet somehow he has found his own home there. However, why don't you, Iriniel, go ahead and roll like an explore test, maybe, if you want to try to find him. And if Gilly's there, you can go ahead and take a bonus die for that.
Sweet. All right. So that is favored, and that's 4 with the extra. So let's see what that does. I really need to take a picture because you're so not going to believe me, but it's a Gandalf. No additional successes, though.
So you do eventually find him. You actually get a little nervous at a certain point as you and Gilly, and if anybody else went, you're kind of wading through sort of this thick marsh, and it's getting dark, and you have a tendency to kind of get stuck and mired down in this, obviously. And at night is when more of the dangers begin to come out, because you do know there are trolls that sometimes pass through here. There are goblins, and now you've heard this talk of some sort of drowned, shambling, like old dead, like wandering through. And you've heard this story before a couple times now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he has been doing is sort of being a warden of this place in some way, and sort of funneling information to Elise to alert the guards and things like that. And as the sun's going down, it's not fully down, but it's nearly setting, you find yourselves kind of caught up in this very dark little stretch, and there's brush every direction, and you suddenly hear yourselves surrounded. You can see like the shaking of the bush off to the east, the shaking of the bush kind of off to the south, and you can feel like all of you kind of get your weapons out, you're ready to go, and then suddenly bursting through the brush, you can see Hooper and Quint, and they're kind of just like loping and jumping over the dogs of Hollis, and they kind of come, like it looks at first like maybe they're charging at you as if they're going to hurt you, but then like one of them just leaps up at Riniel, the one that you kind of gave a treat to about a year ago, and just kind of tackles you down, and you fall down, get covered in mud and sludge as they just kind of roll over top of you. The other one, will say Quint, comes up to you, Gilly, and just is kind of there, kind of sniffing as if they recognize. And then you hear
Riniel came prepared with some treats.
And then you hear coming out from kind of a different brush, and you didn't even see him, actually, even though you all are very good. But you didn't even see him, and you can see kind of decked in what looks like he's matted some leaves and twigs and other things onto some sort of cloak that he's made himself. You see the visage of Hollis Oak Stout. He has aged 5 years in the last year. He looks old, and you can tell his skin has suffered greatly from living in the marshes. He's got what looks like a short bow and a big old staff, and he's got a short blade he has tucked into his waist. And he says, he kind of calls out, "Okay, Hooper, Quint, down, boys, down. Come on. Give her a kiss, some. You're gonna drown her. Get off. Off, or you get no dinner." And all of a sudden, whoosh, Hooper just jumps off.
Well, look who comes to visit.
Good to see you, Hollis.
Ranger, Hobbit.
Are
Hello?
Floy and Sorendir here?
Yeah, considering we're going to request this guy's help, might as well
Mhm.
all show up.
Yeah, I'd never actually met Hollis, so
Mhm.
I'd want to go and see
Okay.
what everyone's talking about.
Master Dwarf, and is this your elf friend that Elise has told me about?
Indeed it is, and Irenia will do introductions.
I can't say I've ever had the acquaintance of an elf before. There's not many of your kind in the marshes.
Most likely I am the only one, yes.
Indeed. Well, come on, supper's on. I've promised the dogs something good. Well, let's go. Before it gets too dark and all of the corpses come shambling.
And he
we'll
leads
follow him
you-
to wherever he's leading.
Yeah, and he leads you to a completely different place. It's not like, remember you last time you met him, there was that huge fallen tree that he was kind of living within. And instead, he leads you to what looks like a place you've never seen before. And it kind of gives you vibes, Floy and Gilly and Irinial, of the sunken keep that you had encountered in the
Ooh.
gullies of Rudour, because you can see what looks like built up stone, like blocks and ruins. Like there was a building here. You can't tell what it is. It's so old. There it's completely covered over in kind of vines and sludge and swamp grass and all sorts of things. And he kind of leads you up this kind of broken stair to this level, like this kind of second level platform where he's kind of set up his own camp.
And he's like, the last camp got overrun. This one gives us better oil lines, and we've got traps all along the north, all along the south there, the east. Constantly moving is our plan. We've been here better part of a month now, and we'll move on again before winter. So, what brings you out here to the marshes? Certainly not a social call.
I'm afraid not. We have a rather large task to ask of you.
My mother, she's dead. That's why you're here, isn't it?
No, Irenial and Floyd just visited her not long ago. She's And she looks at Irenial. She's
still spitting in folks' eyes.
That's me, Mum. That's me, Mum, indeed. Oh, goodness. To feel the warmth of her spit in your eye, that brings me back to childhood. I'll tell you, she just, that's the only way she knew how to motivate you to complete your chores. Even when you completed them, she'd spit in your eye and say you have more to do. And, we probably did. So, what's the task then?
We're heading north.
You want me to guide you through the marshes?
I mean, we would love your guidance, but we were hoping you would go all the way north with us.
North where?
Oh gosh, my notes aren't open. What is this place called?
Misty
Irenial?
Mountains.
Well, the Misty Mountains are to the east. You're going to the Angmar, or Mountains of Angmar, which are basically like, so the Misty Mountains run basically north-south along the edge of Eriador, and then towards the northern edge of them, right around where Mount Gundabad is, they kind of veer off west, and those are kind of the Mountains of Angmar.
The mountains of Angmar.
Kind of looks at you, puzzled.
Where the hell's that?
And she kind of explains like what you just explained about how it's past like Mount Graham, a little bit.
Where the hell's that?
Past the Rudour.
What the hell's a Rudour? Like a rutabaga?
No, it's just not really inhabited. And then at that point, Gilly just like gets she's just like, and she gets her notes out, and because she had like a kind of crude map that she drew up with Oswald, and she's like, okay, so we're here and we need to go all the way up here, but it'll be a very perilous journey.
I mean, going to sleep at night is a peril for the three of us. You've gotten ambushed more than once in the past few months. What's, not to be crass, but, well, what's in it for me? I've been spending the past year guarding the backside of people who ostracized me, kicked me out, and won't let me see my mum. Now you're asking me to put my life on the line again, continuously, even more than I already have.
They don't realize the danger that's already at their back door
No,
that
they
you've been
don't.
dealing with. And unfortunately, more information is needed to open their eyes to this, and it's a perilous journey. And we've been tasked by Lady Otolos.
Who the hell's that?
She's and like Gilly's just struggling through this because there's so much background information that he just has no idea about.
He's a country bumpkin. Like, he doesn't know, you know?
And so, and she's like, she's a lady of power, and I presume maybe we could ask her for her assistance in getting you good word to return to town.
I don't know if
And
Gilly
she's
would believe.
looking at Sorendir at this point. Like, is that something we could do?
Sorendir, you'd be like, what the hell?
Sorendir would look at Gilly kind of, and then turn to Hollis.
Like a letter of recommendation?
Hollis. We have barely met, but I can see that you are a man of reason and you make valid points. And then he'll turn to the rest of the group. We should go.
And Aurelia will kind of just step up and just say, we believe that you have been done wrong, and it does not appear that efforts to convince the Bree Wardens are likely to occur anytime soon or be successful anytime soon. You know, as you've been out here, that there's been growing shadow, and we are a small number of us attempting to do something about this. And we are hopeful that if we can inform individuals who are aware and believe that there is danger, our number could grow and we could have more success.
All right, Aurinial, roll. You can choose. I can't tell if that's more in hearten or awe. But it's one of those two, I would say, as you're trying to kind of inspire, I think. That's what it sounds like. You're trying to win him to your cause through inspiration. So I would say either one of those is fine with me.
Okay, I will... I'm sure someone with a better sense of math would know which is better. I'm going to go with awe because it's favored. That seems to be better. And then I will take one of the D6s so that I've got 2 pips that I'm rolling.
Zoro's calling you out. Roll that again.
No. That's very unfortunate. That's a fail. Wait. Yes, that's an 11 under 13.
I was so hoping you actually would roll another Gandalf.
I rolled a 1, so this
Yeah.
was the appropriate balance to
Well,
how things had been rolling.
You roll a 1 and what else? It's favored.
Well, it was favored, so the other one was a 5, and so that's where I get the 11 from.
Okay. He turns to you and he's like, "There's a fine words and speech and all that sort of thing, but I'm going to be honest with you, Iridial, none of that means anything at all. I mean, I'll tell you what, though, if you can, when I get back, if you can find a way to get me back in the good graces of the Bree Wardens and living with me mum, I mean, you can set aside all the flowery words, and I'm not looking for treasure or riches or anything like that. I'm just looking for a roof over my head. I don't think that's too much to ask."
This is a tall order, and what you want is we can easily give it to you, with you coming or without you coming. So you don't need to follow us if you feel like this quest is too much for you.
Floy, roll a persuade. Or, yeah, persuade, I think that sounded like to me.
All right. I'll take an audience side with this.
Okay.
Six, 11, 14. No, I just failed it.
He kind of, like, just looks around at the group, kind of settles on Gilly and Flo, and you're asking me to go to a place I don't know, really far away. And you want me to set my life and my dog's life on the line for people who kicked me out and won't listen to me, and then you say that you can help me all the way? I'm no hero, and never put that idea in anyone's head. And I would be a foolish man to say if you can get that done without me having to travel to the ends of the world and risk my life and all sorts of things, and that would certainly be my preference.
It's completely understandable.
Gilly, do you say anything? It's the last try. If you want to try something, like Floy and Irinial have failed. I don't know if he would listen to Sorendir, and it doesn't look like Sorendir does, you know.
Sorendir is kind of in the back of the group, just like miming, say no. Say no.
Yeah. Gilly will just, I guess, I don't know what this would be, but she'd basically just say, I realize now asking you to risk your life is a silly question. Anyone with, and she kind of like looks at us with 2 cents would know that we're probably not coming back from this. And you probably would, but it's a serious task. And she just kind of looks at Sorendir, and she just kind of sighs, and she's just like, we just would appreciate your help for as much as you'd be willing to give it. If that's just guiding us through the marshes, we'll take it. But and she just kind of grows quiet, and she's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, I'm still young. I don't have your knowledge, your life experience, and we could really use that.
Wow. There's some emotional guilt manipulation, I think, in there.
A little bit.
But also some flattery at the same time towards the end. I think there's a lot of different tactics Gilly was
she's
tapping into.
She's feeling a lot of things, and that's just kind of like the word vomit that.
Yeah, what do you want to roll? You get one shot at this. The last chance.
I guess either like courtesy or like enhearten or insight.
I don't think courtesy makes sense, but I'll take enhearten.
You said courtesy makes sense?
I said I don't think courtesy makes sense here, but I think enhearten's okay.
Enhearten works. Okay, I can do enhearten. Can I have a dice, Mo?
Yep.
Oh, that's bad. I got an 8 for my D12 and 3
That's a
ones.
good roll. An 8 for a D12 is great.
That's not going to hit it, though.
10, 11, 12, 13, and I need 16.
Okay. So he just kind of lets out a sigh, and he's just...
Yeah.
You can tell he kind of looks... He starts to feel a little guilty about it. But he says, I'm sorry, Miss Kettlegrass, but... I'm no hero, a world traveler like yourselves, and you all have gone this way and that, and you've lived to tell the tale. Well, furthest I've been outside is Weathertop. A little bit down the Greenway towards the South Downs, and I made it over to Brandywine once. I'm not much of a traveller. I might be a good scrapper here in the marshes, but that's because I know them like the back of my hand. Wherever you're headed, whatever kind of experience and such I have is, well, I don't think it's going to be useful at all. So, I think maybe it's best that I'll just stay here and keep an eye on the marshes and make sure those shambling creatures of undeath don't wander down onto the Great East Road and pick apart travellers and such like that. I think that's the role I've come to be good at, and probably one that I can best accomplish and be help in whatever days I got left.
And Gilly nods and, well, if we do come back, then you can count on us to help you get you a home for you and your mom.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold you that, Miss Kettlegrass.
And she'll kind of like laugh and reach out and shake his hand.
And for what it's worth, I sure hope I'll get to see all you again. Even you, Mr. Elf. Quiet as you might be.
My thanks.
So, we'll say you spend a little time, you break some food, and you kind of play around with the dogs a bit. Eventually, though, you return. And you have your rangers, but you do not have your ex-Bree Warden, nor his hounds.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see
That's
if
okay.
That's 3 allies you could have had right there.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
shame. He
But
was
I-
We
not
don't need to
automatic.
drag others into the abyss with us.
Yeah, Sorendir's voice was definitely there. Like, if I was going to
Yeah.
do another round, it was going to be like, I promised my companion we were not going to force anyone. So we will explain the evil and you can choose to follow or not.
And he pulls the arrow out, points at it. I said, well, we're taking the dogs at least. Okay. All right. So time passes, another day or two. Hey, Eric, W3B, welcome to the chat. You've got your resources, you've got your reinforcements with Talondale and Marin Ben. You've got Beat and Root. I'm assuming you're bringing them both again. Okay.
I would say.
All right, sounds good. Make sure you note that in your character sheets. That will help with travel rolls later, like when you do your fatigue reduction later, because you have mounts. So then the next thing is let's set up our journey phase. So you can see on the map, I've expanded out. It's a ways away. I'm pinging on there
So
the map
far
for you
away.
all. It's in good weather. It's roughly a month's worth of travel. So how do you want to go? In targets, exactly. For sure.
So I guess the first question is, do we want to
The
go
fodder.
north? Do we want to go north first to the north of Weather Hills, or do we want to go around Weathertop to the east of Weather Hills? That's kind of our first choice.
So do we either
Sorendir wouldn't explicitly state this, but when we're discussing the route, he would try to subtly convince you all to go north first. He always finds himself drawn to Fornost, so he'd want to go towards that region.
And considering Talondale, like was his area, it kind of makes sense for us to go up there and then branch off, you think?
And then basically we can do kind of a diagonal from the north end of the Weather Hills east of Fornost across over essentially to Mount Crom, or do we want to go a little more middle of Rudour, middle of nowhere?
Didn't we run from like a horde of raised things from Fornost?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you
I
were
don't-
inside Fornost, and
Yeah.
then when you left the city grounds, like the ruins themselves, they didn't follow you past like the grounds, almost as if they were like kind of bound
Right.
to the ruins.
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
not
city.
saying we go directly into Fornost. I'm saying like we follow the Greenway up, and then the gap in between, we just head on straight over. We are not going like, hey, we should camp in Fornost tonight.
I
We left
think-
some unfinished
Let's-
business.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do it.
Jeff, can you ping on the map, if you wouldn't mind, where Nadil?
Sure. I actually
Is-
put a little marker for it. Thank you,
Oh, okay.
Ashley.
Over there.
Far to the east. It's not the most efficient path.
Okay.
But I'm thinking like we branch off here-ish.
North end of
So-
the Weather
Like-
Hills.
Yeah, you're looking for a valley, effectively, between the Weather Hills and the North Downs.
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
And taking that over into Rudour itself, and then continuing kind of on the northeast bearing until you get to the Angmar area.
Yeah.
So, okay. You want to draw it, Ashley? Then
I can.
just draw it basically from perfect. There you go.
Oh.
Again, it's
Okay.
approximate. We don't have to be too exact with it, but I kind of get a gist of where you're going.
Yeah, looks about
Yeah.
right.
Long's
It
on it.
doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't look like that path has any like impassable terrain. So,
Yeah. Try and
think
keep
it's
to
fine.
some tree cover while we can, and then
mhm.
to those horrible.
Yeah.
empty
So the way I
places.
interpret it is with trees is like if they're drawn on the map, I consider it like a proper forest, and like it's thick. If they're not drawn on the map, doesn't mean there's no trees. It just means it's scattered, or it's wilderness
Yeah.
and small copses of stuff here and there. That's kind of how
But
I
not
interpret
as
it.
dense.
Whatever I need to make the moment cool. If I want a freaking handful of trees there, then damn it, there's a handful of trees.
Hell yeah.
All right. Then let's do assignment of roles. We've done this before. What are we doing this time? Last time it was Riniel as guide, took over. Sorendir nearly died. Hunter was Sorendir. Lookout was Gilly. And Scout was Floy. How are we doing now?
I'm okay with keeping that formation.
Okay. Floy has.
You're
he's
gonna keep
okay.
eating roots and berries.
That is true. You guys
Yeah.
did not get a whole lot of protein. He was hunting the infamous tofu plant.
I'll find it one day. A 6-pointer.
Yeah, here are some happy little trees. And then here are the trees that are moving. Why are those trees moving? Gotta work on my ent voice. Okay, so we're cool keeping the roll? All right.
I think so. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you say
yeah.
your final goodbyes. Gilly, you have an emotional, tearful goodbye with your family once more. Your mother tries to talk you out of it. Your father gives you kind of a big hug, and you can feel that he is tucking a little something special into your pockets and your packs just for the ride, just
Okay.
for the race. And he says to you,
Now, Gilly, there's quite a few of folks I see you going with that could probably, do with a little relaxation. So maybe this might help. Now, you be good.
Thanks,
You,
Stop.
you smile. And We'll see you on the other side.
And he like tries not to cry.
Oh,
Oh, little hero.
And then he like just kind of steps off and just starts bawling off in the corner.
and Gilly's standing there, and she does like one of those like trying to keep it cool as she like as Sorendir, Floy, and Aurenial are like off to the side, and she doesn't want to cry in front of her friends.
That's awesome. So, okay. So what we'll do is we'll get a little started on the journey phase. Obviously, I don't think we're gonna finish it tonight, but let's go ahead and get started on it. So, we know the roles. I need the guide. So Aurenial, go ahead and give me a travel as you start moving up to Greenway, headed north a bit. So travel roll.
I feel the need to show off my travel skills to our ranger companions, so I'm going to take an extra audience d6, and then I've got the d6 for my cloak. And all right, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is a. All right, let me do some math here. That is a regular success. There's a 13, 14, there's a 16.
Okay. So you start you start marching out of the Chetwood beat and route stacked up with resources. You've got your useful items obviously packed up, ready to go. Along the way, you stop by Coombe, bid farewell to Oswald. He bids you luck. Maybe tucks a couple new pages into Gilly's pouch for reading on the road. You stop, you kind of journey through the Chetwood. Say goodbye to Elise Briarcleave. You stop by the cabin of Talondale and Marin Ben, which you can tell they've kind of shut down a bit. It's still there, it's functional, but you've packed up a few things. You've buried some others. They're ready to go. And then you venture kind of northwestwardly out of the Chetwood, find the Greenway itself, the road that is mostly overgrown at this point, but there are stretches when you can see the old cobblestones and such of whatever kingdom Aurenial's people would want to call it, whether it's Arno or Arthedain, last kind of maintained the roads themselves, and you venture northward a bit. First couple days travel is largely uneventful. You're still within very close sight or close range of Bree itself. No real trouble too much. You know that you have a limited amount of resources, dried meats and things that you're trying to prevent going to waste too soon. So it's unsurprising then that maybe you take advantage of the fact that you know these areas, and maybe Talondale and Marin Ben as well, and maybe you hunt a bit. So Sorendir, you are the hunter, so go ahead and roll a hunt test.
Can do. I needed a 14, and I got an 8.
Oh my gosh.
That was
Okay.
with the D12 and 2 pips.
Okay. So as you head out, and we'll say if you see that kind of small forest just to the north of Chetwood there, we'll probably say that just northwest of that is likely where your first encounter of note occurs. And Sorendir, you venture off the road a ways. You're looking for anything that doesn't require you to slaughter an animal. You're looking for berries. You're looking for anything that maybe old wild grown like tomatoes or vegetables that just so happen to be left over. Maybe a homestead that long since has gone to ruin, but their garden still still manages to sort of persevere. And you all realize that one night, as you were sitting around the fire, talking with Marin Ben and Talondale, and they're kind of telling you what's kind of befallen these last year or so, and you're maybe doing some practice, Gilly, you're reading through your notes, you realize, actually, that Sorendir is not amongst you. And although he might be a quiet, reclusive fellow, and you're used to him kind of just like drifting off into the corners and not necessarily engaging all the time in the social construct that the rest of your peoples tends to be more accepting of, you actually realize you remember the last time you saw him. He was wandering off to find food to supplement your dinner, and at some point someone probably saw a hare or something like that sort of darting across the road and chased it down. Randall, you put an arrow in it from afar, and you kind of forgot a bit, and you realize it's been hours and hours since you've last saw Sorendir. Sorendir, you found yourself heading eastward. You saw a forest lining the eastern side of the Greenway. The Greenway itself at this point is at the kind of a crest of a very large hill that kind of flattens out for a ways, and you descend down into the forest and you wander about. You find this thicket, this brush. You hear the sounds of birds flying around. You find this run of berry bushes that you collect, and when you finish emptying one of the bushes of berries, your eyes catch another one, and never look a gift horse in the mouth. You move to the next one, and a couple hours pass, and you realize it's dark. You can't remember exactly how long you've been gone, and more than that, this forest is unfamiliar to you, and you do not recall which way the road is in your party.
Yeah, so Sorendir has the direction of a wounded bumblebee. He knows that you're not supposed to keep going left or right. Like, you have to just pick a direction and go. So I think he's just gonna try and figure out what he thinks is like northish and just start going that way.
Okay. Sure. So you start. So yeah, go ahead and just roll and explore.
All right. I got a. So correct me if I'm wrong, but 11 is Sauron, is it not?
It is indeed.
So I got a Sauron.
Okay.
Otherwise, it was just a 6.
Okay. You start heading northward. At least you think it's northward. You suddenly see rays of moonlight beginning to creep down through the branches overhead. You see that along the path northward, you see a few more berry bushes. And again, well, might as well. We're here. It won't take that much longer. And you start plucking them, and then suddenly you realize there's something kind of crawling over top of you, and you see you've managed to disturb what looks like some kind of cluster of spiders once more, and they just begin crawling over top of you, and you panic. You stir. You drop the berries on the ground. That slip and slide and kind of fall down, and you realize after an embarrassing few moments that when you gain control of yourself, that you've smashed basically all of the berries that you had collected. You've fallen onto your pack. You kind of hold the pack up. You can see the kind of the purplish goo beginning to seep through the fabric. And worse than that, you notice that the spiders were harmless. They were just spiders. Nothing poisonous about them whatsoever. In fact, just part of the everyday cycle of nature out here in the woods. But fortunately, no one was around to see this happen, at least.
So I'm definitely embarrassed about smashing all the berries, but I tell myself that the reaction was proportionate, and that if those had been bad spiders, it was worth the loss of the berries. I'll do my best to salvage what I can and to try and clean out my pack as well. Absolutely.
Now you end up having to actually spend the night apart from your party, or if you prefer, you can continue to search throughout the night and don't get sleep. Either way, it isn't until the next morning when the rest of the party has actually been out searching for you as well, kind of keeping close, radius and stuff, calling Sorendir, Sorendir, and obviously they know you're perfectly capable of handling yourself, but nonetheless, to lose one so quickly into the journey would be tragic. Well, the morning
Chat
sun
is correct. Marin Ben is facepalming at this.
But you return and you all meet up again in the middle of the morning. The cloud cover is something intense. Like you can barely see the sun. But eventually Sorendir comes back. You see at first maybe those of you who are keen-eyed, almost looks like he's got some wounds, like he's been bleeding, but then you realize no, that's not blood. It looks like stains. But you all nonetheless have had a difficult night right off the bat, just a few days into your journey. Separated. All of you go ahead and take one fatigue. Except for Iriniel.
The one-word explanation that Sorendir would give would just be spiders.
Oh,
and then he won't speak of it anymore.
All right. So, you're right. I think definitely Marin Ben Zoro is just leans over towards Iriniel and Gilly and Floy and says, I thought elves were serene and graceful.
He's not your average elf.
He might need one of you to go with him next time.
You won't. He is old enough to be our ancestor. He needs a babysitter now?
I've spent most of our traveling time as the hunter, but I have since taken up a different role, and we're all taking time to adjust.
All right.
I wouldn't mind if one of you went with. All he's bring back is berries and leaves. I should have another.
And
Well, it's just
Ben-
like we need a group chat, and it's not about him being gone all night.
we have a text group chat. We removed Sorendir. She's like, guys, what?
We're going to get to Angmar, and we're going to be weak because he doesn't get us any freaking meat and protein this whole time. All right, so Marin Ben will agree to perhaps accompany Sorendir on the next round. Or maybe it will be Talondale as we're approaching a stretch of land that he has ranged significantly, knows decently well. Iriniel, go ahead and roll another travel test. As the clouds, for the next few days following Sorendir's incident in this nameless wood, it's almost as if bad omens are beginning to mount so quickly between not being able to convince your ex-Brewarden friend Sorendir getting lost on his first hunting excursion to a wood, the sign of spiders, the clouds overhead darkening and darkening. They almost look like winter clouds, like snow clouds coming in, but it's too early for that, of course. It's only mid-fall, mid-autumn. How'd you do it, Iriniel?
Success, 17 over 14.
You have fewer incidents the next few days as you continue along the Greenway, and you can tell that you've traveled this path before, so it's not as difficult for you to keep an eye on the road itself, because again, there are long stretches when there's no road at all. It's just worn earth, flattened to some degree. Other places where it's been completely overrun with meadow and weeds and grasses. You pass by cairns and old ruins. You see what looks like a specific grave site that all of you explored when you traveled up the Greenway and headed west to Eskerdale. You know, do not go down there. Very familiar place. And it's around there, actually, where you start veering off to the east. So if anyone wants to... I have to be on a different map as I keep track of the hexes. If you all want to move your token probably about... a little further, like a little nudge eastern from there. Okay, perfect. So this one's going to be Gilly. Gilly, you are the lookout. Can you tell us a little bit of what Gilly's been doing the last couple of days in her role as lookout? Like, what does this look like to us? For us?
So Gilly looks for danger because we've been set upon by works and stuff a few times now. So she looks out for any predatory animals that might be roaming too close to us, any other possible travelers, and in general, just like any areas that we've encountered before that were extremely dangerous to try and like steer us away from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll your awareness as you are keeping close to the group, close to your ponies, but at the same time, you know it's your job. Not so much to find the path, but to sort of cover the flanks, look behind you, things like that. And especially during camping, like you kind of do a like a circuit around the camp and such.
Okay. So I got it. 14. 19, so I pass. No extra successes though.
Ooh.
Okay. You find yourself one morning, as maybe you've wandered off to do your morning business in some semblance of privacy, within earshot of the others. And you start hearing like rustling. There's scattered trees. You can see in the distance to the northwest when the kind of the cloud cover is just right. You can see what looks like the ruined towers of Fornost, some of which are still barely peeking up from the beyond the hillside. You hear off to the east, kind of in the direction in which you're headed, the sounds of what sound almost like panting. And you see rustling. And then you see something dart really fast from like this one bush to another, at least your size, maybe bigger, an animal, a wolf, you think.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear one kind of circle around behind you at this point. And you kind of quickly kind of pull up your bow, like hastily draw it, and just kind of, as you kind of pull it up and kind of shout out maybe like threateningly and such, unleash a random warning shot into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a yelp. And you see bursting out from behind the bush ahead of you to the east, a dog, not a wolf. Very much similar, hound-like to Hooper and Quint. Not Hooper and Quint. Burst out from the bush, and an arrow is in its flank, and you can see it's lifting up its rear left leg, and it's like trying to run now on 3 legs, yelping the whole way up through this forested hill. Off to the eastish, you could tell it's kind of the tail slopes in the hills of the Weather Hills. And you can see it's sort of racing up that kind of wooded hill, and you're not sure if it's going to make it. Like you got it really good. It's a lucky shot.
Yeah. Oh,
What'd you do?
No. Gilly would try and intercept it before it gets too far.
Okay. So you race up, and it's moving like clumsily, but it's trying to move quickly. So more than one, like you can tell it if it could easily outpace you, but because it stumbles and falls, and you can see it slid and slide, and you can tell it's in horrible pain, like you're able to eventually catch up to it. You get within a few feet and starts growling. And that's when your awareness test kind of kicks in now.
Uh-huh.
As you smell smoke. You look around, and you can see something between the trees further up the hill. Something constructed, a building, cabin, a house, a home, something like that. You look down at the animal, and you see there is a collar around it. Like something to suggest it is not just a wild hound, a wild dog.
Can I catch its name?
There's no tag for name like that. It's just
they didn't scribble it on there or anything.
it's yeah. No,
I know.
no, I'm not treating it like that. This is just me trying to
Yeah.
suggest that it's tamed. You see, as you start looking around in the trees, there's weird markings carved into some of the trees around here. And that's when you start seeing figures begin to surround you. And it's not dogs any longer.
Yeah.
You see people. You think they're people or orcs. You're not sure. But whoever they are, they're 30, 40 feet from you. There's some that are behind you further down the slope, some off to the east, some off to the north. You are surrounded, and you can tell that all of them are covered heavily in garb. Maybe this makes you nervous because the sun is coming out. Maybe they're trying to, maybe there's orcs or goblins, or you're not really sure. The dog does look relatively well kept, aside for the arrow sticking out of its hind leg. But every time you look up at one, you hear like the sound of something breaking in a different direction. Your eyes kind of turn over there to see nothing, and then when you turn back to the shape you saw before, they're gone again. And instead, your eyes kind of focus on one of those strange markings on the trees. What do you want to do? And still, this dog is whimpering.
Yeah. Oh God. Would it attack me if I tried to scoop it up?
Well, that sounds like a roll test, doesn't it?
It does sound like a roll test.
So, yeah, why don't we do... Maybe like an insight to see if you can calm it or kind of get a feel for its demeanor as you reach for it.
Okay.
And react accordingly.
Oh, thank God. Just barely passed. I got a 16 exactly, but no extra sixes.
Okay. You reach down.
One of my
So-
D12s was a 0.
The dog doesn't like snap, like it kind of snaps at you at a certain point, but you can tell doing so hurt it. So the next time it didn't, you kind of put your hands gently on the animal. You're kind of shushing it, and you're kind of petting it
just
here
like,
and there.
Please, shh. I'll fix it. Please, just we have to get out of here.
And it's a big dog. So I don't know if Gilly would be able to carry this dog.
Oh no. Okay.
It's like
a hunting hound.
It's Odin, our friend Odin's dog. It's
Got it.
Odin.
Yeah, I don't think Gilly.
It's
Gilly
like a
is short.
130-pound bloodhound, you know, like and you lean down. You could certainly try to heal it if you like, but it does it does seem to not be snapping at you at this point.
Gilly is gonna try and heal it as quickly as possible, and then run or
Okay.
like stealth out from these people.
Roll that heal test. Three-Eye Cat, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream.
For this dog, I will spend a hope.
Really?
Yes. I love the dog. Are you kidding me? He deserves it.
Does he?
If you knew what you were doing.
Rings of power, people. This is Sauron, maybe? I don't know.
Got an extra 6.
Yay.
So great success.
You managed to very quickly pull the arrow out. It didn't go in too far, and you're able to kind of quickly put some sort of cloth over top of it to help staunch the bleeding, and you can hear it kind of yelps out, but it's bleeding and it's bleeding and it's bleeding. Now this isn't magical healing, so like you're managing to keep it. Like it's
The
not like the
pressure.
stitch is going to magically, and like the wound is going to magically heal itself. So you keep it there. You're holding it. The dog is coming to some sort of calm level, and then you hear the twig snap, and another, and you hear shuffling, and you hear this horrific voice.
What have you done to our pet? How dare you?
And you see there's a figure covered in furs and leathers and cloth. You cannot see an inch of skin. all you can see are these eyes that are dark with like bloodshot where the sclera is. Like you don't even really see white. Everything's completely covered. Looking at them, they aren't just covered in cloth, but you can tell that like a lot of the cloth is stained, like browns and reds. And they're holding what looks like a short sword up in your direction. And then you can see two more kind of step out, starting to flank you, and now you're surrounded by three of them.
How dare you kill? We'll show you.
He's not dead. He's not dead. I'm healing him.
You come here and harm that which is dear to us. We will harm that which is dear to you. Yes.
If you harm me now, he will die, and I'm so sorry. And
You
and
think
Billy,
you're the only one that could heal this one. You think we are without capability. We do not live here because we are incapable. We live here because those like you have thrown us out. We can care for ourselves, little one. We don't need your help, and neither does our dog.
They start to get closer.
and at that point, Gilly like does like the whistle that she does for the group, and she's like,
It's too late for them. They can't get here in time. We're watching them as well.
And you can see as they get closer, they're like, you can tell what it looks like when someone walks and they're in pain. And this person is in pain. And as they step forward, they're wincing and they're trying to keep their voice from breaking.
Can I help you as well?
Your healers would not help us. They sent us away so as not to infect the others. Why would we accept your help now?
Who
That you would
sent
harm.
you away?
The people of the Bree Lands. We were sent out. We are too sick and feeble. We reminded them that the body is weak. Our bodies might be weak. Our bodies might be ailed. But our mind and spirit, they are strong.
No one deserves to be treated as such.
They're breathing so heavily.
Uh-huh.
And you notice as they're actually roll. Well, you rolled your awareness test. We'll carry that over. Don't worry about it. You can see as they're talking, they have like some sort of, again, they have a face covering, and you see the stains are growing and they're getting wet and they're starting to spread.
Please, you're hurting yourself worse.
Roll a courtesy. And you're going to roll this with, unfortunately, it's going to be a -2D. One for who they are and where you're from, and one because you shot their dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like one audience?
Yeah. Please. Please. 17.
Okay.
I needed a 16.
Okay. You see there's hesitation.
What do you know of it? The healers in Bree said they could do nothing for us, that we were hopeless. Leprosy, they called it.
They hold up their hand, and you can see like they're like the way they have their hand now on their sword. You can now tell they only have like 2 fingers wrapped around the hilt, and like the other one that is hanging down by their side is covered in what looks like fresh wounds and things.
Would I have learned anything like with the elves of Linden, that would at least like help alleviate the pain more?
We can certainly give a roll and find out if you did.
Okay.
I'll say roll a healing test. This one will be a -1, as it's just an unfamiliar ailment to you. Go ahead.
Whoa.
No one fails rolls.
I got-
You guys have to fail a roll
I
every
will
now and then,
fucking
or else
send you a
no one
picture.
believes
Jeff,
you.
I fail all my
Just telling
rolls.
I got an
Yeah.
8 and 2 6s
know,
on
Steven's-
a D6.
Total opposite. He wants to fail because it's funny. It's funner. Okay.
So great success. Or
Okay.
extraordinary, right? Because I got 2 D6s.
Sure. Yeah. So
Mhm.
you kind of hold your hands up, and you can see they're covered in the blood of this poor creature. And you kind of reach very slowly and carefully into your pack. You kind of pull it around, and you reach in. You pull out some poultices and things, and you kind of set it down on the ground and kind of put your hands back up. And you know that there's nothing you can do to cure them. There's nothing you can do to save these people if it is what they say it is.
Yeah.
But at the very least, like you said, you might be able to ease some of their suffering. And so you place it down in front of them, and you know it's some kind of combination of various herbs, powders, and things grind down, stuff that they could potentially, like a forest would have it, and they live close enough. And maybe you even spot out of the corner or carry over your awareness test. You look over and you can see like this little growth of sort of plants right on the roots of a tree. You're like there, and then look for this and that, and you kind of start listing the things. And
Mash it together. Let it ferment. Mm-hmm.
Steps closer, leans down, picks it up. You see she just sort of stabs the short sword, which is rusted and old, into the ground. Begins to unwrap her hand, and when you see it, it is shaking and covered in wounds and discoloration.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite unnerving to look at. In fact, probably the worst thing you've seen, other than some of the wounds that you all have suffered, you know, in your time. But in terms of sickness, this is probably the worst Gilly has ever seen.
Yeah.
And she begins to sort of apply this here, rewraps. You can tell immediately she looks at the others that are kind of flanking, kind of gives them a nod, and they step off to the side. And she says, "You can go. Quickly now before I change my mind."
Thank you. And Gilly will like put the last piece of like the bandage or whatever on the dog, and then she'll stand up and she'll head back to where she knew the group was.
Yeah. You head back, and the group, you heard the whistle, and you've obviously like jumped, you know the deal. You're looking around and scouting and struggling to find tracks, looking for where she went. And you see the blood, which tells you the story. You decide to kind of veer a little bit further away from this hillside that Gilly found, which would have been the exact direction you kind of wanted to head. Mm-hmm. So you take a slightly longer route around, which will add some extra fatigue to you all, as you can go ahead and take 2 fatigue from that.
Can't believe Gilly shot a dog.
I know, what a murderer.
I didn't even roll to shoot.
That was cold-hearted, Gilly.
It really was. It was absolutely terrible.
No.
I bet it was like yelping and that whining and everything. Oh my
It
goodness.
was. It was looking at you with those eyes. It was like, why would you do this to me? I'm
He's
just
okay.
a
I
sweet
send a
dog.
hope.
Is he? You don't know. All you
At
did
least
was
not
pull
from
the
mine.
pull the arrow out and stop the bleeding. You don't know. They don't have proper meds. It's gonna get infected. It's not like they're gonna
Oh,
properly
no.
amputate. Just gonna
Oh,
put the dog
no.
down. It's gonna be an old Yeller situation. All right, everyone take a shadow point. All right,
Depressed
so
now.
go ahead and roll another travel test. We'll do one more, and then we'll get out of here for tonight.
Alrighty. Take another one of these because we've got a generous audience and it's my birthday. So
You would do it anyway. Your birthday's got nothing to do with it.
I'm just saying that we have so many today.
Teach Gilly about the cards.
All right. So that is a success. No additional successes.
Okay. Oops, wrong button. Okay. And then I need let's go. This Floyd. Floyd, your turn. Yeah, man. Roll an explore test.
Explore of 2 pips. $16 pass. 1 success.
So, originally you spend some time trying to find a slightly better route, but still kind of keep yourselves easternly. As you veer northward a bit, you can see in the distance as the sun comes up the next day what looks like a very small grouping of these crude-looking homes off on the hill. That is the last day of sun that you all get for the next 3 days, as the cloud cover becomes almost oppressive as you start weaving between the hills, the kind of the tail end of the Weather Hills, the North Downs. It's beautiful country. However, the weather itself is becoming more and more difficult. Floy, you're often kind of working with Iriniel to try to find these routes that might get you sort of a more or a kinder path, not as much elevation change. You can hear, like, even already Talondale is kind of wincing every now and then as it's taking him a little extra time in the morning as you're getting more north and it's getting colder. The bones are beginning to feel a little bit more on edge. And as you weave through this valley, not only do the clouds above become like this oppressive dark gray storms, but it never rains. There is this heavy rolling mist and fog that sweeps in, extraordinarily thick, white, and it never abates. The sun doesn't come out to burn it away. And Floy and Iriniel, you are struggling to find any path forward. You feel the ground kind of sink here and there beneath your feet. You're wondering, are we traveling the right direction? You look for any sort of signs. At a certain point, Floy, as you're taking the lead, at one point thinking you find this path, you put your foot down as you've been traveling across this sort of, I would say, grassless terrain. It felt more like rock, almost flat in some ways. And you can't quite see it all that well as like this, almost like dry ice just starts wafting around. That's how thick and white this becomes. And then you go to put your next foot down, and you're too slow to react as there's nothing there. And suddenly, Iriniel, just from a few feet away, you hear Floyd just go, ah! And then there's a long gap between you hear the smash of Floy as he has wandered literally off a cliff.
Oh no.
Floy, how'd you do on your roll?
It was just a pass. 1 success.
Okay. Fate is with you, perhaps. As you land kind of on this sort of downslope at the bottom of this cliff, you have your armor on, the mithril is there to protect you. And you smash and you roll and you come to a stop, you bang your head, and you kind of feel a little bit of blood coming down from your forehead, but when you reach up, it's small, and you are not wounded. But the rest of you are struggling to find a way down to help him. all of you gain 2 fatigue. Eventually, you come together and you kind of continue on this path. A whole day of trying to find this switchback path to go and reach where Floy is. Otherwise, you're separating and someone's having to backtrack for an extraordinarily long way. And as you kind of continue to, like after you've fallen off that cliff, you start to ascend and ascend again, almost as if you're going up and down and up and down. And as you get to the top of a hilltop, you look off in the distance and you can finally see something. Because otherwise it's just been that fog cover everywhere. All of you see, with just a hint of light coming from the west still as the sun's going down, what looks like a castle. It's has to be a few miles out. Like you might be able to reach it the next day. Next day comes. Fog is still here. You travel up and down, up and down. All the while, there's that castle. And no matter how many hills you crest or how many valleys you descend, there's that castle. Never getting closer, never getting further. The fog, the mist, never dissipating. And then all of you are starting to feel the weight of the moisture of the fog. Your packs and your limbs are growing heavier. Your boots are sinking into the earth as you get into the gullies, the valleys once more. You start to hear your mounts braying and crying from nerves. Talondale as well, though you can tell he's trying to keep it in. But one morning, after 3 days of this, you look up. The sun is shining. No fog. The hills are clear. And you see that you are one hilltop away from a ruined castle in relatively good condition that when you went to bed the night before seemed miles away. And we'll go ahead and end on that, and we'll pick up there next time.
I want to explore the castle.
I know you
know.
do. It's called a cliffhanger.
That's what Floyd
already
was
went over
doing.
that,
Yeah, that's what Floyd did.
That's not a
Yeah,
cliffhanger.
perfect.
You just fell. But no, we're ending a little earlier as it is Melissa's birthday. We're going to go grab some dinner and everything. So, but yeah. All right. I love doing journeys.
Yeah, except when now we're like double stepping every single step in the fog in case we all go falling off cliffs.
Yeah, it's been rough. I mean, he got terrible misfortune. So again, to peel the curtain back, so on the GM map of Eriador, it's a hex map. And each of the hexes are colored a specific thing to determine what kind of land they are, and that determines whether event rolls are rolled normally, ill-favored, or favored. And the last two you've been in have been ill-favored, which is why Gilly had such a horrible situation and why Floyd had such a horrible situation. Funnily enough, Sorendir, yours was yours actually was favored, and I rolled terrible misfortune and shortcut. It's just you failed your roll, so it was just you couldn't get the shortcut.
Didn't have a chance.
Didn't have a chance. You would have cut a day off your journey if you would have passed.
I guess it's a good thing we have Lady Artolos as our patron.
Well, she's good for shadow issues.
Stuff.
Yeah, which you haven't actually had a face yet on these, but it will happen at some point, I'm sure, as we have a long way to go.
Coming.
Yeah,
You're about a third
once
of the
we
way
get
there.
closer.
All right, let's do some close and plugs, and then we'll get out of here. We'll start with our good friend Steven. Steven has been kind enough to volunteer to run a game for us on our channel. Steven, tell us about this game.
Yes, so Haunted West, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific time. That's 9 p.m. Central. It is a horror Western game. Plays out similar to Call of Cthulhu. We've got some familiar faces here. Ashley and Jeff are in there. Melissa might even show up at some point. We'll see. I might have to kill a player to get her in. Jeff, sorry. It's going to be you. It's a great game.
Not having a producer. Talk about plot.
Rootin' Tootin' Horror. It's a blast. I've been having a lot of fun. Also, in a couple hours, I'll be on a Grim and Perilous doing a one-shot run by Chuck from Defenders of Kabul. So that'll be fun too.
Yes, in our heart spot, because Melissa said I'm not allowed to play tonight. So, Chuck,
you got a fancy
Chuck's
dinner plan.
Really, it was Melissa just doing me a favor because no, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Okay, so then for us, let's see. Tomorrow night you can catch me over on Steam, Steel Murder, playing some Shadowrun, and then on our channel on Monday we've got Holler for Savage Worlds. Stephen already mentioned Haunted West on Tuesday. Next Friday we'll be doing some Mothership. And next Saturday, we'll be doing One Ring, and it'll be the last One Ring for a couple weeks because we're going to have one more One Ring next week, and then Long is journeying on his own in real life. Yes, across the world. So we'll be off for a couple weeks, but we'll be filling One Ring with a different game, Orbital Blues, and we're doing that for a couple weeks while Long is gone. Because we don't want to play One Ring without our dwarven treasure hunter. That's sacrilegious.
Floy.
Yeah,
we would lose every fight.
Yes, but it's only for a couple weeks during October. But we'll be back with more shortly thereafter. Thank you for everyone who hung out tonight. Thank you for all you who threw out some bits and some credits and some subs. You all are very, very kind. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you to the new folks who showed up tonight in chat and who followed us. We definitely appreciate it. And for those of you who are watching this later on YouTube or on VOD. We appreciate you too, and if you're listening to this in the future, as we've been posting all of our episodes, catching up, I should say, on podcast format, thank you for listening as well. We're gonna go ahead and raid the boys from the Baltic Star, because speaking of Orbital Blues, they're playing it, and I want you to get a taste for it when we start playing it in a couple weeks too. So, good night, everybody. Bye bye.